Okay, welcome to my very first Rhino tutorial. I've been using Rhino since its inception, since version 1. I don't know exactly when that was. I think maybe 1997 or something like that. So I've got about 20 years of designing boats in Rhino. And I thought I might be able to share some knowledge with folks out there. So let's dive right in. I have a 6-meter Euro style aluminum boat here. It's for a company in Europe that will be producing these on a serial basis, large production runs, so getting fairly involved. But today I'm just working on these little transom boxes. You can see I've roughed them in, but they need to be, they're going to have lids put on them and manufactured using brake press and things like that. So time to jump on these and get them put together in a way that that makes sense. So I'll just run over here. I don't like to work on, I'll go back to there for a second. I don't like to work on objects when they're intermingled with all the other objects because it's just too easy to miss and click on something else. So I usually move them aside. I also like to point out that I'm going to keep this fairly simple. I'm presuming that a lot of people will be beginners, so if you're an advanced user, hopefully I will be having more tutorials in the near future and you can skip ahead. But this is just going to be basic stuff. So I'm moving over here to the left viewport. Double click on that, and then I'm going to hit the move command over here, and I'm going to move it off to about 200 units. So I'm going at minus 200 at 0 degrees. You can see up here I've typed in at minus 200, that's the units, and the number of degrees is 0. And hit spacebar for enter. And now the reason why I do that is it's a known location. I can work on it all I like here, and then I can move it exactly back to where it was. I know I just have to move it 200 units back. So then we're up here in the viewport. I'll give you a little tip. I've activated the perspective viewport, and as you can see, it's going to be hard to try and work on it when it's floating around in space like this. And I've seen some other tutorials where people are actually doing that. But what we can do is just hit zoom. So I hit Z spacebar, selected, S spacebar, and now I've zoom selected to bring the little box into the center of our viewport here. And you can see the boat still over there. Let me just get my orientation. So this is the port side boat. So I'm not going to have any bottom in it because the transom is going to, the swim grid here is going to form the bottom of it, and the transom will form the back side of it. This will be the back side and the bottom. So I don't need the back side or the bottom, which is going to make it a little easier in production because we want to fold this on a brake press. And it would be hard. I think it might be impossible almost to fold all of this into a square cylindrical shape with and then fold the ends up. You'll end up having to only do part of it and weld parts together. So my workaround to that is just to I'm going to explode it using the explode command here, and then I can just delete that bottom panel, and I can delete the back panel. So now I've just got a shape like this that I presume will be a lot easier to fold on a brake press, because then I would, when it is flattened out, I would have them fold this piece up. This piece seam will be connected to the top, sorry. They would fold this part down, and then just using the end of the brake press, so they can fold this down and fold the other side down, so they can easily do this shape on a press. All right. Now I need to cut a hole in the top of it. So let's just go over to the top view here. I'm just navigating using my right click to drag. and wheel mouse to wheel in and out. And we'll just get that into our viewport. And I know I'd like to have about 1¼ inches all the way around. So the way I normally do this is I just go to Curve, from Objects, and duplicate border. Maybe I'll actually go back to the perspective view so I know that I'm duplicating the right border here. And right click to hit enter. So that gives me a curve. You can see the curve is around the top there. And now I'll just go offset, typing in offset. Oops, set. But anyways, it thinks it knows what I want, and it's right. And I'm going to go about 1¼ inches, 1.25 inches as the distance there. Space bar for enter, and show it which side, and I want it to go to the inside, obviously. And the reason why I'm leaving 1¼ inch around this and not less is that is for the brake press operator needs some material to work with on each side of the fold. So I found they don't complain as much when they have about 1¼ inch there. Now, another way that I always like to work is select things first and then do my operation, so that when the operation is done, it's still selected, and I can just hit the delete and it goes away. So now I select the insert, the inside curve here, sorry, and I will hit trim and simply trim out the interior, and right click to end the procedure. Again, the line is still selected. I can hit delete and it's gone. So now I have a box with this top edge, just like that. Oops. Okay. I'm going to leave my screw ups in because I've been told that's the way to do it. I'm going to hit undo and get this edge back again. Okay, so I have the that hole cut out, and I've still got my curve selected that I used to cut the hole. And I want to put a 3/16 inch flat bar combing around this hole that will act as a lip for the lid, as well as strengthening the top of the box, as well as a combing to keep the water out. So I happen to know that 3/16 of an inch is 0.1875 inches, because I'm working in decimals here. So I will offset. Oops, okay, offset. I didn't have the have Rhino highlighted or as the active window. Okay, so you can see here 0.1875 offset to the inside here. Okay. So you can see now we've got two curves there. Probably a little easier to work in perspective view here. So let's select both curves. There is an easier way to do this. I mean, I could have just cut this out of the original surface that's on the top as well, but I just wanted to show you some other commands. This is always a favorite. So from planar curves here, we can use the planar curves command, and it'll make a surface for us from the planar curves. And as I pointed out before, these are still selected, so I could delete them, but in this case, I am going to keep one of them and just delete the inside one. You'll see why in a minute. So select this surface, and I'll go over to solid, and we will extrude a surface. And I hadn't really thought about, because this is non-structural, I hadn't given it much thought as to how wide the flat bar is. I think I will actually, in fact, go with 1.5 inches, which is what's already selected here. So I'm just going to hit enter, and you can see it's created I just want to get rid of that original surface. Boom. because now I've got this solid. Just zoom in on an angle here, and we want to just move this. And I have my ortho on here, so it's just going to go straight, as long as I can have a reasonably straight mouse position. And I'll just bring it down for now to an arbitrary measurement. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to line up. Let's go back to our perspective view, and you can see that this is going to strengthen the top of the box, as well as giving us a nice combing around it to keep the water out. So I want this to this combing and the seat top, or I guess the top of the box, to match the seat tops and combings that I have on the rest of the boat. So I'm just going to turn on this layer because it was off. And let's again, you can see the orbiting is way off of where I really want to be. So I'll just select, say, that top there, and just hit zoom selected. I can zoom out a bit with the mouse wheel. Now I can orbit around that perfectly and zoom in and show you what we're working on here. Same type of idea. I just wanted to go back to visit this and see how much, what distance I've got, how big the lip is on the cap, and also how much combing I've got sticking up. So that command is up here in Analyze Distance, and I just want to analyze the height of this this edge around the top here, and it looks like it's probably about a ½ inch. Let's do the same thing for the combing. 4.78, and I guess we've got, let's just try it again. I'm going to call it a ½ inch. This is not that terribly important, because this is the builder is going to make the decision as to how high he wants the combings. I'm just going to give him the in this case right here, it's seat tops. That's why I keep referring to it as a seat top, but it's going to be a lid for this box that we're building. So let's just go back to that. Zoom selected, and I think I'm going to go back over here to this. And I'm just going to eyeball this. Oops. Escape. Deselect. Select that. I'm just going to eyeball this down to there. And then I'm going to move it up to maybe 0.6 inches. So I'm going to go at 0.6 inches at 90 degrees. And again, up here in the command line, at 6, which is my units, inches, at 90 degrees, which is vertical. Hit enter, and she's popped right into giving me about 0.6. So I can do a ½ inch lip and know that I have enough clearance there. And again, the combing is going to be completely up to the builder, so he might want more, or he might want less. And he might use different, whatever flat bar he has on hand, to be honest with you. So, okay, I just want to create another curve, network of curves here. So I'm just going to use, this time I'm going to use the duplicate edge command, just to show you guys that one. This is asking me whether I want it to duplicate the edge of the side or the edge of the top. In this case, it doesn't matter at all because they're the same. So I just want 4 curves. And right click to hit enter. J for join. And we'll okay, so now we're at the point where we're going to create a lid for this. I know that from the other seats and everything that it go about 0.3, 0.4 inches beyond the combing. With this, so what I'm going to do is go back to curve from objects, duplicate edge, and I'm just going to duplicate the edge around this combing here. Again, oops, wrong one. And while we're in the command, we can hit Control and deselect that, and just get a better view of these things while we're selecting them. And you'll notice when you're using the mouse to zoom in and out, it zooms at the point where the mouse is. So if I want to look at this piece over here, I put the mouse over it and zoom in. One of the many wonderful functions of Rhino. So I've selected those outside edge curves there, and I'm going to right click to hit enter. And I'm just going to hit J for join, just for good measure. In case I lose the selection, I can easily select them all again. And then I just want to offset this again. So I type offset. And perhaps easier to show you this from the top view. Again, so I think probably about 0.4. Because this is probably going to be 1/8 inch thick material. 2 millimeter kind of stuff. 2 or 3 millimeters. So I'm just going to go 0.4 to give myself some clearance. Once the part is press brake into shape. I'll show you what I mean in a second. And I'll probably just delete those curves. Take this curve and make a surface from it. From planar curves, that gives me a surface. And I think I'll just select the curves and that outside perimeter curve and the surface together. Go in here to the front view, which actually says left view. And I'm going to hit the Alt key and the up arrow and just move it up just a little bit, because for right now it doesn't matter where it's actually sitting. Let's go back to our perspective view. And we want to select that outer edge curve again. And we're going to extrude this down 1/2 inch to match all of the rest of our hatch covers and seat tops. So, surface, extrude curve, straight, and we're just going to type in the amount, 0.5 inches, hit enter. Went the wrong way, of course. So, Control Z, hit enter to repeat the last command, and we're going to go minus 0.5. Obviously, we want it to go down, not up. I'll leave my mistakes in for you. And again, you'll notice, again, this is all we're really trying to accomplish is getting this top section and the box itself. So we're not too worried about, it looks a little silly sitting up so high here, but when the builder builds it, it'll be further down. So to suit his hinges and things. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm probably confusing you. But first I'll join everything that I need joined here. I'm going to hold Shift, select all these surfaces. Oops. Control and deselect that. So this is giving me the top and the sides of the box. J, and spacebar to join those. Oops, right click to get out. Oops, right click to get out of that command. Selecting the top surface. And shift to select that the edging all the way around it, because it's one surface. It selects in one piece. J and spacebar to hit enter to join that all into one piece. So now we've got a lid and we've got a box. And later when we unroll developable surface, I'll show you what will happen. I hope I'll show you what will happen. We go here, surface, and unroll developable surface. Explode, no, because if it was left at explode, yes, these will become 5 separate pieces, and we want it to remain joined. And Rhino makes a good guess at where we want the joins usually, but usually gets it wrong. So I would just show you the process of kind of doing this. Keep properties. In this case, labels. This kind of thing is not really necessary. That would just show us where the edges were, where everything was joined, and this is a fairly simple piece, so we know where it was joined before. So I right-click to hit enter, and oh, it's going to get messy, but where did it put our parts? Yeah, like I said, it's going to get messy. Here are our parts. And Rhino made a fairly good guess at where it thought we wanted all the parts joined up, but so we'll explode this, but it didn't get it completely right. See, it's got this edge and this edge in the right place, but and it thought that the other 2 edges were joined end to end. Typical type of situation in this, so it's really easily fixed. We hit explode, and now we've got this piece. We will go to rotate, select it right at the corner there. We've got our ortho on, so it's going to snap there. And I'm just going to undo that. One sec. I should have done it with both of them. Like that. Do it again. And there's our box top. I would rejoin all of this. J and enter. And then, because we want to send it out to CAD, we would just we go in here, curve from objects, and just duplicate the border of the whole thing, and delete our surface. And this gives us what we want to give to the CAD guys. And I would just draw in some lines like this for CAD fellow, and usually make this a different color, like green or something, and put an indication and just say fold up 90 degrees on the green line after it's cut, CNC cut for the perimeter. Okay, and as I was saying earlier, perhaps, you know, this is sitting a little bit proud, it's too tall. And me moving stuff right now is, this is just for aesthetics, because it's going to be, I'm going to be taking this out to a nice rendering for marketing. But that kind of gives us our box. I'm going to be opening to the left. Where's my boat? It's on that side of the boat. It's going to be opening. The left side will be opening. And so what I'll do, I'm just going to rotate this up a little bit, and just for aesthetics. And here's another tip for you. See how I've got my ortho on and it's snapping all around. So it would snap to 45 degrees. And honestly, maybe 45 degrees is what I want in this case. But you can just hold shift down. This is a tip I want to give you. You can just hold shift and it overrides that ortho. And that goes for anything that's you got a snap happening. You can just override your snaps by doing that. We'll just leave the box lid open and delete that curve that we don't need. So let's select it. And this is what I was showing you earlier. I can just move it back into place on the boat. Hit the move command. I want to move it to at 200 in the positive direction, so it's not a negative, it's just 200 at 0 degree angle. Just keep it level. So again, 200 at 0 and hit enter. And let's just go into our perspective and zoom selected. And there's our box on our transom. Just where we want it. And I'll get rid of this dummy box that was there. And I should have just left that selected, or I should have grouped it. But there we go. There's our box. And because it has no bottom in it, we're saving some material, we're saving some weight, and it's got no back on it. So this will be welded, fully perimeter welded, and they can the welder can weld this thing from the inside. And that will give us a nice watertight box. That they'd spec this. I'm not sure exactly what they want to use it for. Perhaps battery boxes or bait box or just storage. But I always make sure I have some guidelines around the boat when I'm designing it. So I've got this center line right here, and I'll just take this this whole box, type mirror up here to mirror it. It asks me for the center line of the mirror, which is my center line of my boat. I just pull that out, and it gives me a perfectly mirrored box on each side. Oops. Used to working on a bigger screen, so I keep going to increase the screen size. And I'm just working in a small window for the capture stuff. So anyways, I'm going to just undo this, and I'm going to rotate this thing back down again to 90 degrees flat. And go over here, rotate. Boom. Get out of all of my snap areas. And again, let's just eyeball that, because close enough for now. Again, this is not at this point being constructed. Let's grab our combings, our lid, and our box again, because this is a handy angle. You'll also notice that I'm working my perspective view in ghosted mode here. It allows you to see the surfaces better, and the rest of my viewports I normally work in wireframe, so that, such as this thing, I'm looking at this from the front of the boat, so I can peer right through the entire wireframe and select that at the back. It's just my preferred way of working, but in later tutorials I'll show you why in some cases I will work in the flat views in a shaded mode as well, just so that I can select inside surfaces, like when you're in a wireframe view, and this is obviously the boat side here, but if I clicked on it, it wouldn't select it. But if I put it in a shaded mode, I can click in the interior of surfaces. Makes for handy trimming and stuff. Like I said, I'll show you that in the next video. I think I'll probably cut all the holes for this for the decking here. This is going to be a watertight deck, so, and a self-bailing deck, so it'll be welded down, and then all these holes that are from a previous build. This has been a recycled part, so I have to move all of these holes for slot welding so that they can slot weld the deck down to the internal structures. And like I said, I'll make a quick little tutorial just to show you how to trim stuff in the middle of surfaces when you don't have isoparms to click on. So back to, I just wanted to close the lid so that it doesn't look, so it looks better for rendering later. And then we just want to mirror. I know there are clickable commands for that, but I grew up in the early days of AutoCAD typing everything in, so I'm still, I find it faster, in fact, and less clicking, so less carpal tunnel. And let's just hit save. Might take a minute because this is a very large drawing. And let's just have a look at this in rendered view. A little bit easier to see the lines of the boat and everything. So I think the client's going to be happy with these boxes. The rest of this boat should be done in a few days. A boat like this takes me about a month and a half, I guess, including all of the design work. The design work is pretty slow. You want everything to look aesthetically pleasing and as well as structurally sound and watertight and seaworthy. So, and that's a pretty involved process. This is actually getting down to the fun stuff for me. And let's just go back to, like I say, I like the ghosted view because I can click through, I can grab some internal stuff if I need to. And that's about it for my first video, for my first Rhino tutorial. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. I'm looking at the clock going, I'm like, wow, this is probably going to be about 45 minutes. Maybe I'll edit it down. Anyways, thank you for watching, and stick around. I might, and I'm definitely going to have more Rhino tutorials. I enjoyed this, so I'm going to continue. Hopefully I'll do about one a week for you.